At the dawn of the 20th century, the world was experiencing an era of tremendous transformation and progress. It was a time marked by optimism, where technological advancements and industrial innovations were reshaping people's daily lives. Revolutionary inventions, such as the automobile, electricity, and the radio, made humanity feel invincible, believing there were no limits to what could be achieved. This period of confidence and technological enthusiasm became known as the Golden Age of Progress. The great industrial powers competed with one another to showcase their strength through monumental constructions and unprecedented feats of engineering. And it was within this euphoric atmosphere that the Titanic emerged, a true milestone in naval engineering. The Titanic as a symbol of the Industrial Revolution and human confidence in technology. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it represented the pinnacle of human ability to conquer the seas. Built by the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, the Titanic was designed to be the largest and most luxurious ocean liner of its time. Measuring 882 feet, 269 meters, in length and standing as tall as an 11-story building, it symbolized the achievements of the Industrial Revolution. Beyond its immense size, the Titanic was equipped with technological innovations that promised to redefine maritime safety standards. The ship featured watertight compartments and automatic closing doors, designed to prevent water from spreading in the event of hull damage. These advancements reinforced the belief that the Titanic was virtually unsinkable. It was a manifestation of the era's faith in technology's ability to overcome any challenge, even the forces of nature. The Titanic's fame as the unsinkable ship. Even before its maiden voyage, the Titanic was widely known as the unsinkable ship. This reputation was fueled by marketing campaigns and the confidence inspired by its revolutionary design. Although the White Star Line, the ship's owner, described the Titanic as practically unsinkable due to its innovative technology, the public and the press exaggerated this claim, turning it into an absolute myth of invulnerability. The phrase, "not even God could sink this ship," was never officially stated by its builders or owners, but it encapsulated the spirit of the age, a time when pride and confidence in human engineering were at their peak. However, this confidence would soon become the ultimate symbol of technological arrogance, with the Titanic's tragedy proving otherwise in a devastating way. The controversial phrase, "not even God could sink the Titanic." The origin of the myth, urban legend, or historical fact. The phrase, "not even God could sink the Titanic," is one of the most iconic expressions associated with the ship, but its origins are shrouded in mystery and uncertainty. Despite being widely repeated, there are no reliable records of anyone actually uttering these words before the Titanic's maiden voyage. It doesn't appear in official statements from the ship's builders, engineers, or owners. This phrase seems to have originated as a myth, fueled by the spirit of the times when technological progress was seen as nearly infallible. While the Titanic was described as practically unsinkable due to its advanced design, there is no historical evidence to support the bold and defiant claim regarding divine intervention. A phrase embedded in folklore, lacking reliable evidence. Over time, the phrase solidified in popular imagination, more as urban folklore than historical fact. Like many stories passed down through generations, details were added or exaggerated to make them more dramatic. In this case, the phrase became a symbol of human arrogance and excessive confidence in the power of technology. The power of this phrase lies in its provocative nature. It seems to illustrate human pride at its peak, daring even divine forces. However, the lack of documented proof highlights how popular folklore can distort historical events, especially when they involve large-scale tragedies. How books, films, and dramatizations popularized the myth. The myth of the phrase, "not even God could sink the Titanic," gained traction through cultural depictions of the ship's story. Books, plays, and more recently, films about the Titanic frequently use the phrase to symbolize humanity's arrogance and to add drama to the narratives. A notable example is the film Titanic, 1997, directed by James Cameron, which helped immortalize the myth for a new generation. Although the film doesn't attribute the phrase directly to any character, it reinforces the idea that the Titanic was perceived as invincible. This type of dramatization helped cement the phrase in collective memory, even without historical evidence. The phrase also appears in numerous books and documentaries exploring the disaster, often serving as a metaphor for humanity's overconfidence. Rather than being a factual statement, it has become a powerful symbol of what the Titanic represented, a testament to technological pride that ended in tragedy. The Titanic as a symbol of human arrogance. The Titanic was designed and constructed during an era when humanity was at the height of its technological confidence. The Industrial Revolution brought innovations that completely transformed the world: steam engines, electricity, railways, and massive engineering projects. Technology seemed limitless, and humanity believed it had mastered the forces of nature. Within this context, the Titanic emerged as the greatest masterpiece of naval engineering of its time. The ship was the embodiment of human confidence, enormous, luxurious, and supposedly practically unsinkable. Its designers were so sure of its sturdiness that the ship was equipped with only 20 lifeboats, enough for about half of its maximum capacity. The justification. The lifeboats were seen more as a safety accessory than a real necessity, since the risk of sinking seemed impossible. This excessive confidence in technology reflected the spirit of the era. It was believed that scientific and technological progress could overcome any challenge, even the limits imposed by nature. However, the fate of the Titanic proved that, no matter how great human ingenuity was, it was still vulnerable to the forces of the natural world. The phrase as a metaphor for human arrogance and the mistake of undermining nature. The phrase, "Not even God can sink this ship," although a myth, became a powerful metaphor for human arrogance. Even without evidence that anyone actually uttered these words, it captures the spirit of a time when humanity, intoxicated by progress, challenged the very limits of what was considered possible. The Titanic symbolizes this boundless confidence and the fatal mistake of underestimating natural risks. The collision with an iceberg, which led to the sinking of the unsinkable ship, was a cruel reminder that nature remains unpredictable and uncontrollable. While the designers focused on creating a technologically advanced ship, they failed to properly consider risk scenarios and emergency mechanisms. The tragedy also exposed the fragility of human arrogance. The disaster not only destroyed the largest ship of its time, but also profoundly shook the belief that technology could make the world completely safe. The Titanic came to be remembered as a symbol of how overconfidence can lead to devastating consequences, especially when we underestimate the forces of nature. The Titanic as more than a maritime tragedy. The Titanic is more than a maritime tragedy. It is a lasting example of the impact of human arrogance. Its story serves as a reminder that, no matter how advanced technology becomes, nature will always have the power to surprise and challenge humankind. The phrase, "Not even God can sink the Titanic," became a symbol of hubris and a reminder that humility is essential in the face of forces beyond our control. The tragedy of the Titanic, the contrast between technological pride and the reality of disaster. When the Titanic departed Southampton on April 10, 1912, it was a symbol of progress, grandeur, and confidence. Nicknamed the largest moving object ever created by man, the ship carried not only passengers but also the hopes and pride of an era that believed it had mastered nature. Yet, in just 5 days, this glorious vision was abruptly and tragically destroyed. On the night of April 14, 1912, at 11:40 p.m., the Titanic collided with an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The impact seriously damaged the ship's hull, compromising 6 of its watertight compartments, a much larger number than the design had allowed for. Within hours, the unsinkable ship began to sink, taking over 1,500 lives with it. The disaster revealed how fragile human pride can be in the face of nature's relentless forces. Despite all its advanced technology, the Titanic was unprepared to handle such a devastating event. The tragedy exposed flaws in the ship's design, safety standards, and the mentality of the time, which had underestimated the risks and overestimated its own capabilities. The transformation of the idea of unsinkable into a symbol of warning. The notion that the Titanic was unsinkable shifted from a symbol of confidence to a grim reminder of the consequences of arrogance and overconfidence. The disaster became a historical milestone, not only because of the scale of the tragedy, but also due to the impact it had on public perception of safety, technology, and human vulnerability. After the disaster, the term unsinkable took on an ironic and tragic tone. It came to represent the human error of believing that technology could offer absolute control over the unpredictable. The Titanic disaster is often cited as an example of hubris, a concept from Greek mythology that describes excessive arrogance or pride that precedes a downfall. The sinking also led to drastic changes in maritime safety regulations. These included the requirement for enough lifeboats for all passengers and crew, the creation of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SALAS, and the establishment of the International Ice Patrol to monitor dangers in the North Atlantic. Today, the Titanic is not only remembered as a tragic maritime disaster, but also as a symbol of warning. It teaches us that while human progress is admirable, hubris can lead to fatal consequences. The lesson of the Titanic echoes today. No technology, no matter how advanced, can completely eliminate the risks and challenges presented by the natural world. The Titanic as a reminder of human limitations and the power of nature. The story of the Titanic is a powerful lesson about humanity's limits when faced with the forces of nature. As impressive as technological innovations and achievements may be, the sinking showed that we are not infallible. The Titanic, built to demonstrate human superiority, became a painful example of how nature remains an unpredictable and unrelenting force. The collision with the iceberg, a simple and silent natural force, turned what was considered an engineering triumph into a historical tragedy. This tragic irony underscores the need for humility. The sinking reminds us that excessive confidence, neglecting to account for risks, and arrogance regarding our ability to control can lead to disasters. More than that, the Titanic also serves as a symbol of the mistake of underestimating the unpredictability of the world. The tragedy left a lasting impact on how we think about safety, planning, and the need to respect forces beyond our control. The importance of distinguishing facts from myths when exploring historical events. An equally important lesson that the Titanic teaches us is the value of differentiating historical facts from popular myths. The phrase, "God himself couldn't sink this ship," for example, became part of the narrative, but it is not historically proven. This myth, like many others, emerged and gained traction because it helped make the story more dramatic and symbolic. When exploring historical events, it is crucial to separate what is fact from what has been added by human imagination or dramatization. In the case of the Titanic, myths contributed to making it a cultural icon, but they also distorted the understanding of some key aspects of the tragedy. Distinguishing fact from fiction is essential for us to truly learn from the past. The real story of the Titanic, with all its lessons of poor planning, overconfidence in technology, and unpreparedness to face adversity, is rich enough to serve as a warning without the need for embellishments or exaggerations. The story of the Titanic offers us two central lessons: the need to recognize human limitations in the face of natural forces, and the importance of seeking the truth when revisiting the past. These lessons not only preserve the Titanic's legacy as a historical milestone, but also help us reflect on our own mistakes and avoid repeating them in the future. In the end, the Titanic is not just a ship lost in the depths of the ocean. It is a symbol of the balance we need to find between progress and humility, between human pride and respect for the limits that nature imposes upon us. Reinforcement that the phrase, "God himself couldn't sink the Titanic," is fiction. As we reach the end of this journey through the past, it becomes clear that the phrase, "God himself couldn't sink this ship," is nothing more than a myth. While it is fascinating and contributed to the mystical aura surrounding the ship, there is no reliable evidence that anyone involved in the construction or operation of the Titanic ever made that statement. The phrase is, in fact, a product of popular imagination, fueled by dramatizations in books, movies, and stories that added extra tragedy and irony to the event. The Titanic was indeed a symbol of innovation and advanced engineering, but its real story is even richer than any myth. It reminds us that reality, no matter how harsh, is where the most valuable lessons lie. The sinking of the Titanic is not just a historical tragedy, it is also a timeless warning. It makes us reflect on the risks of technological arrogance and overconfidence in human capability. The story of the unsinkable ship teaches us that, even with all our progress and achievements, we must remain humble and cautious in the face of forces beyond our control. Even today, in a world where technology advances exponentially, it is important to remember that innovation must be accompanied by responsibility, planning, and respect for the limits of what is safe and possible. The lesson of the Titanic is clear. We should never underestimate nature or believe we are completely in control. And with that, we wrap up another video here on Boundless Mystery. The Titanic is not just a ship that sank, but a powerful reminder of our vulnerabilities and the importance of learning from the past. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think about this story? Did you ever believe the phrase, "God himself couldn't sink this ship," was true, or did you know the origin of the myth? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it to help us reach more people. Subscribe to the Boundless Mystery channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming content on the world's greatest mysteries and fascinating stories. See you next time.